Hi guys, I have Victoria, my friend. We met through Little Kids, and then we talked about some important questions in regards to how to protect the kids in case of emergencies. So we decided to sit down and have a conversation because a lot of my clients wants to know how to do that, how to protect your kids in case something happens to you. Hi, Victoria.
Hi, Masha. Yeah, that's right. We started talking. We met a few weeks ago. Actually, we talked about how important it is to have a legal guardianship nomination for your minor children. Because guess what? If you don't have those, if and when something happens to you, your minor kids will end up most likely in child protective services, even for a few hours. So it is very important subject, and me being a mom myself for a 4 and a 7-year-old, that's something I would not ever want to happen, even for a short period of time.
That's for sure. And then as soon as you brought it up about child protective services, I wanted to definitely talk more. So that's why we met. And then tell me more, like, how do you set it up? Like, what is the process?
So before we even go there, I want to just a point of very interesting fact is that over 71% of the parents nowadays don't even have guardian nominations for their minor children. And based on my research, most of them it's either because they didn't know you need to have it, or they didn't know where to start with. And even those 29% they do have, most likely did at least one of the 6 most common mistakes that I'll be happy to talk about. But yeah, the first thing you need to do is have a long-term guardian nomination for your children. And that would be the people that you want to raise your kids even when something happens to you.
Okay, and that, I didn't know that. So when I talked to you, I was like, what do you mean there is long term and then like short term? How's like explain to me, why would I need like a long term guardian versus just naming like one short term, long term? Like, why can't I just do one for both?
So the short question is, what would happen if your long-term guardian it's not available right away? For example, a lot of guardian nominations, a lot of people nominate their guardians who live 1,000 miles away, or even 100 miles away, or even around the corner. But what we need to make sure is, if something happens right now to you, that we have someone, and that's why I call it short-term guardian, someone that will take care of your kids, and that has to be someone that they know, love, and trust, that will take care of your kids in the interim between the authorities, the police locating your guardian nomination, first of all, locating your guardian, and then for the court to appoint that person as the guardian, because that takes time. So that can be anywhere between few hours to locate the guardian and week to a few months for the guardian to be nominated. And why you want the short-term guardian is, if we don't have that legal documentation in place, if we don't have that legal person, your kids most likely will end up in child protective services until the court appoints someone, and that someone may not be that someone that you would like to have your kids.
Yes.
It can be anyone who raises their hand.
So Victoria, let's say I just have my grandparents, and then they know something happened, so they want to come and pick up my kids. And then do they have to have some paperwork to do that? Or?
Yes, so they do have to have that legal documentation for the authorities to be able to leave the kids with them. That's the important part. When you have the legal guardian nominated, you also need to give them required paperwork that says, I was appointed by Victoria Felder to take custody of her kids, X and Y, if and when something happens to you and she's not able to take care of them. And they always have to have that paperwork at hand for the emergency.
What would you say the top common mistakes people make when they do the guardianship?
So one of them, obviously, don't do the guardianship. They cannot agree with their spouses or co-parents of who they want their guardians to be.
That's true.
Yes, and I have techniques that
Yes.
I teach my clients how to do that and how to do that effectively, so both parents or co-parents will be able to get into a mutual ground. What usually happens is they start the process, but they never finalize it. And even if they have selected their guardians, they never execute the necessary legal documents. And another common mistake is they only put their legal guardians into a will. And what that usually means is there's no provision for a short-term guardian in that. And also will only gets into effect when you die.
Okay.
But what's going to happen if you become incapacitated?
Okay.
The will is not in effect. So basically the guardian nomination cannot take effect at that time. So that's why you want to have a separate set of documents specifically naming your guardians in case you also become incapacitated. Another common mistake would be people selecting different guardians for your child or different financial guardians. They usually book it at one, and it is it's recommended that you have those separate people. If you want to do it correctly, you want separate people to be a guardian for your child and a guardian for the assets that you leave behind for their care. And the reason is because you want to have those checks and balances between the two. So you don't want to have the option that whoever is the guardian take advantage of the money or vice versa.
Okay, that makes sense.
One of the other mistakes that they happen is obviously not naming a temporary guardians for your children. Yes. So in case of the original, the long-term guardian is not able to be located or not yet being appointed by the court, we want our kids to be always at the care of people they love, know, and trust, and in the care of our own home or at the home of people that they feel comfortable, and then comfort them during those hard times that we can no longer be there.
And then, so another question that came to me, like, what happens if something happens to the guardian? Like, how often do you need to review the documents? Because, I mean, something potentially, you know, you have your parents and all of a sudden something happens to them and they're the guardians. So does it have kind of like a step ladder? It goes to the first guardian, then the second, then the third?
So that is a great question. So that's actually one of the 6 mistakes that people often do. They don't name enough guardians. They usually name 1 or 2. But the question is, what would happen if both you and your guardian are not available to take care of your kids? Most of the guardians, when someone names a guardian, is someone that you're close to, a relative or a close friend, that you're always together or often together vacationing. So what I always recommend that you name at least 3 people, and that's in an order of who wants to be first, who wants to be second, and who wants to be third. You can also name a couples, but you need to pay attention and make a provision. What if the couple is no longer a couple?
Oh, yeah.
Who you would want
to
take over. And that could be due to divorce, or it can be due to you know, one of the spouses passing.
Okay, that's great question. And then how once we set it up, like with me and you, like we talked about, and then you mentioned that you're going to give me the card where it has all the information, how it's set up. So can you explain that a little bit?
So the way I name guardians, I have a system, and it's called Kids Protection Planning. And with that system, what I do is I help you create guardians for your minor children, both long-term and short-term. But not only execute their legal documents, but I also help you set up an instructions for your short-term guardians, instructions for the babysitter or the caregiver of your child, saying, in case of something happens to me, those are the people you need to call, which are the short-term guardians, and in the order that you need to call them. And yes, I also have a card. I don't have my wallet, but it's a card that says, my name is so-and-so. I'm a mother. I have minor children at home. And in case something happens to me, those are the people that you need to contact in the order that you need to contact them and their contact information. And I always make sure that that card, the contact information on that card is always updated. Another thing about the kids protection plan that I offer is that I also help you provide instructions for your long-term guardians, not only to put the legal documents and what they need to do, but also explain to them how you want your kids to be raised without leaving any doubt in their head of what Mariia or Masha would have wanted, which is a great gift, I believe.
I know that a lot of my moms would be interested in information like this, but it's probably for married couples as well. But what if it's just a single parent? Do you think what would needs to be done?
So yes, the naming guardians for your minor children, it has to be done by any parent, whether you're a single parent or a couple, it doesn't matter, because there's always that possibility that the mother or the father of your child is also not there. So you don't want to wait for the moment when one of the parents is no longer there, because if you're a single parent, you never know what could happen to the father of your child or the mother of your child. Or if you're married, you both can die, or one of you can die and the other become incapacitated, or both can become incapacitated at the same time.
Yeah, that is
so
true.
As long as you're a parent and you have minor children that you're responsible for at home, I think that it is essential that you have those nominations in place. And not only that, not only naming guardians for your children. Okay, you set up all that process, but you also need to think about how to plan for their financial future and for the assets that you're leaving behind for their care. That is another subject that is very important. Do you want those assets to go to probate and not be readily available to them, and for them to wait X amount of time? In California, probate takes between 12 and 18 months minimum, and the kids, if they're minor, they don't take those assets outside.
So who would take care of the children if that happens, if you don't have anything set up? It will go to guardians, and then they would have to provide for your kids pretty much on their own. What I'm trying to say is that you have to have those plans set up ahead of time.
So you need to have the plan for your assets ahead of time. If you don't, then the court will make that plan.
Okay.
But those assets would not be readily available for your kids and for the guardian of your kids, for the person who takes care of them, which kind of creates a hurdle for the guardian to raise your children the way you wish them to be raised.
Correct.
Because they may not have that capability to do that.
Yeah.
And another mistake that often parents do when they select their guardians for minor children is they take in consideration the guardian's ability to pay financial, and that's a huge mistake. It is not guardian's responsibility to take care of your kids in the way that you want to be taken care of. And when you expect them to do that, then you don't have that control of ensuring that your kids will be raised the way you want them to be raised, with the values you want to be raised. Because you're not the one providing that resources.
Yes, I was thinking about our long-term guardians, and I was thinking, okay, so they get my kids, and then what happens then? And you're so right. I was like, what if they have their own children they have to provide for? Now they have two of mine, and they have to pay for school, for everything. So I believe that's a great topic for sure to talk about.
Yeah.
A lot of my clients would want to know, especially a lot of my friends who are also moms would want to know. Because I believe probably majority of moms, they don't think, okay, so I don't need it set up. I'm still young, I'm still healthy. A lot of people don't think about like the backup plan.
So a lot of people, they don't get the plan. And I can tell you a story. My first husband passed away early into our marriage. We were young. We were only married a year and 9 months. And although he was military and we going to oftenly deployed in a combat zones, and we kind of in the back of our mind, we knew that something can happen. So now we have that risk factor already for him. We have discussed what's going to happen, but we never put anything in writing. Well, a year and 9 months later, he passed away. And surprisingly or not, he didn't pass away due to related. He passed away from cancer that it just spread within 3 months. Very self-acting. At the age of, he had just turned 40 when he passed away. So age is not something that, like, death and incapacity has no age preference. So sure. We're never guaranteed our tomorrow. And if we want our loved ones to be protected and to be kept out of court and out of conflict, then we need to put the legal document.
So Victoria, I know you mentioned that before, but can you explain a little bit further? You said about how many % don't have anything set up?
Over 71%. They don't have guardianship for their minor children in place.
Yes, thank you, Victoria. That's such a great conversation. I really enjoy talking about the guardians because I believe that it's a very important topic for all the moms to know. So thank you so much.
Thank you.